On this week's Eastern Conference edition of Locked On NHL, both conference semifinal series are going at least 6 games after Boston and Carolina found ways to win with their backs against the wall. We'll cover all that, plus the coaching carousel. Who's next to be the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs? That's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On NHL. I'm Ross Levitan. With me every Wednesday, it's Mike DiStefano. For more from us, you can go check out Locked On Senators, Locked On Maple Leafs. We call it the Battle of Ontario edition when we get together every Wednesday on Locked On NHL, talk about the biggest storylines around the league and more. Today's episode is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So make a bet, $5, and that is $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, Mikey. The shoe is on the other foot after weeks of discussing the Ottawa Senators coaching search. In the episode that we discuss it, 24 hours later, the Toronto Maple Leafs are without a bench boss of their own. I know you've covered it extensively at Locked On Leafs, but where's the search at now? Who are the top candidates?
Yeah, like it wasn't a surprise. I think even last week we were talking and saying, as of now, Sheldon Keefe is still around. However, management's set to speak on Friday. Wouldn't be surprised if his dismissal is announced before then. Surely enough, 24 hours later, he's gone, and the Toronto Maple Leafs looking for a new bench boss. As of now, it seems like it's pretty much a 2-horse race in Toronto. There could potentially be more, but what we know as of now, at this moment on Wednesday, is that they've so far interviewed Todd McClellan and Craig Berube. So those two have had in-person interviews so far. And so far, it seems like Berube is the front runner. He's the guy who I think would be much preferred by Maple Leafs brass and also by Leaf fans, to be quite honest with you. Like Dave and I dug deep into who we would rather have and kind of debated it a couple of days ago, I think on Monday's show. And essentially we came up with Berube is by far and away, I think, the better fit for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think that the style that he has, the way that he's able to get a lot out of teams, the way that he got a lot out of the St. Louis Blues, took them from worst to first, quite literally, won a Stanley Cup. So he's got that winning pedigree, and it just allows him to walk into the room and say, hey, I know what it takes to win, right? The team bought into what I had to say, and they went out and they won a Stanley Cup. So if you do the same, that'll give us the best chance to win. Whereas Todd McClellan hasn't really won anything. Like he hasn't been out of the second round since 2011. Like, it's been a long time since that guy's had a lot of success. He's been behind the bench for a lot of years, got a lot of experience, but doesn't necessarily come with a lot of success. And getting out of the second round isn't necessarily, that's the problem, is the lack of playoff success in Toronto. And that's exactly what Todd McClellan has had in his tenure over the course of the last decade plus. So as of now, I think Craig Berube should be and is the front runner. There were odds posted like on Friday on FanDuel for who the next head coach is going to be. I think he was like minus 250. It was pretty strong indication that, all signs are pointing to Berube to be the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, sounds like Berube's window shopping. He was reportedly by Frank Saravalli in Winnipeg yesterday to meet with the Jets.
That's not true. He was not in Winnipeg. It was a virtual meeting, is what I heard from Darren Dreger. And I think that is interesting, considering that Berube came to Toronto and was here for 2 days interviewing with the Maple Leafs, but only did a virtual interview with the Winnipeg Jets. So
okay, good correction. I didn't see that report from Dreger. So time will tell, but he's also spoken with the
that's not going around.
You're
in Winnipeg. Is that not going around in Winnipeg, that little nugget?
I don't know. I haven't been dialed into it today. But
Okay.
interesting note, because everyone here thought that it was going to be Scott Arniel, like kind of closed case. People, I think, here are more just happy that they're talking to people outside the organization, because it all
Yeah.
like Rick Bowness missed a bunch of games this season for personal reasons, and during those games, Scott Arniel filled in, so people just thought it'd be a natural, slide in. I don't know how many people were thrilled about that. So people
Yeah.
are just fired up for that. But man,
I
we're
think
5 minutes into the show. We've just had 2 game sixes wrap up. I know we're going to get into each series in each segment coming up, but do you want one more final thought on the coaching carousel right now?
Yeah, just really quickly, I think the only other, I guess, threat, I suppose, to Toronto would be the New Jersey Devils, who have reportedly had, they have interest in Craig Berube. And, if it depends on how long everyone wants to kind of wait to make this change. I know that there's an interesting situation brewing with Rod Brindamore in Carolina, and with him extending the series and keeping the season alive for the Hurricanes, which we'll get to in a minute. Just makes things more difficult for these teams. So I think Brindamore is clearly, if he does get an opportunity to interview elsewhere, if Carolina's not willing to pay him the big bucks he deserves and he decides to go elsewhere, I mean, the Maple Leafs, they will dig deep into the pockets to bring this guy in and talk to him and make him the next head coach. So I think Brendan Moore is kind of that dark horse candidate. His contract is up this year. If he's not renewed by Carolina, I think there will be interest. But is Toronto willing to wait on that and potentially lose out on Craig Berube? That's kind of the talk of the town right now. And you're weighing, do we wait? Do we pounce on our guy in Berube? It's going to be interesting to see if Carolina can pull this like a game 7 and continue on and maybe even win a round. Are the Leafs just going to say, all right, we just need to name a coach? Because it sounds like they want to have one in place sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you definitely want one before the draft. For more on the coaching search, go check out Locked On Maple Leafs. On the other side, Florida, Boston. Top storylines from that series. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Policygenius. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace where you can save time and money and provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Your work life insurance policy may not be enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policygenius gives you an unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over another. Just trust their guidance. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. So check it out and check life insurance off your list to-dos in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl. Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. I'm Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators. That is Mike DiStefano from Locked On Toronto Maple Leafs. We are your team every day here at the Locked On Podcast Network. We have local experts on the biggest stories all across the NHL and beyond. So make sure to hit subscribe to all your favorite teams, Locked On Podcast. Mikey, Locked On Bruins, sigh of relief. Ian McLaren today with the Bruins sneaking out a 2-1 win over Armando Velez's Florida Panthers. Panthers seem to have that series under control, but the Bruins clawing away, and they came to play. I thought they dominated, especially that first period.
Yeah, they did. Right off the hop, they knew that their back was up against the wall and it was win or go home, right? Time for the Bruins. And they did it without Brad Marchand, which also, gutsy effort without your captain in the lineup, able to go and pick up that win. And I mean, you just gotta tip your cap to Jeremy Swayman. Like Jeremy Swayman is that guy. Like, I don't know what it is about goaltenders who play the Toronto Maple Leafs and like get some sort of Super Saiyan mode after it. But just look at what has happened over the last few years, whether it's Carey Price going off to win his Stanley or to going off to a cup final, Andrei Vasilevsky going off to a cup final, Sergei Bobrovsky going off to a cup final. And now you've got Jeremy Swayman, who's been unbelievable here for the Boston Bruins, keeping this team alive with many, many big time saves. That one save he made in the dying seconds on Reinhart, like, oh my goodness, like that was just a really, really good stop. So Jeremy Swayman is at this point kind of leading the charge for this team to see if they can pull off kind of that reversal that the Florida Panthers did last year when Boston was up 3-1 and lost 3 in a row. Boston now trying to do the same thing. They were down 3-1. They got the first. We'll see if they can keep it going. They're in Boston again for game number 6. So if they can win that at home, possibly bring it to a game 7 in Florida. That series went from being, very lopsided to very highly contested quick, Ross.
And lots of hatred as well. These teams are going at it, and it's been awesome to watch. Of note, Charlie McAvoy with the game winner, his first goal of the playoffs. I know it was hotly contested, a little goalie interference. What is it? What isn't it? But how about the feeling for Charlie McAvoy to contribute? Because over the last 7 games, dating back to game 5 against the Leafs, in the last 7 games, he's -7 with no points before he breaks out with a goal and an assist in a 2-1 win. Like that had to be a huge weight off of his chest.
Massive. And I think I saw it was like the first goal that he had scored since in the playoffs since like 2021. So like he has not really performed very well in the postseason.
This year, dating back to May, this is just playoffs. You're right. It's his first playoff goal in 30 games.
Yeah. So, and like Charlie McAvoy's a stud defenseman. You know what I mean? Like that you expect a little bit more out of him. I know he's not Kyle McCarr, obviously, but he's a really good defenseman. And for him not to be able to contribute to his team probably does get to him. So being able to score the game winner last night, you saw the emotion that he elicited after scoring the goal. Again, we could talk about whether or not that should have counted based off of what goalie interference is not. This I do not know the answer to anymore. But yeah, that definitely had to have been a really good feeling for Charlie McAvoy. Kept the season alive, right? Kept the season alive for the Boston Bruins. Live to play another day.
Live to play another day. Here, I'm going to give a little piece of advice, and I know it's easier said than done when you are an outsider watching the series as an unbiased observer. But the way I've found peace in my soul with goaltender interference is that I just accept that over the course of the season, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. And you just have to play through it either way. I know in the moment it's life or death. It can affect the game wins and losses. But
yeah, luckily it's like now they're even. Where Florida might have got away with one in game 5 or game 4. Boston got away with one here in game 5. It looks like so they're even. If it was the other way, where one team has a +3 advantage or something like that in the goal interference goal column, then there might be a little bit more to say, especially from, the coaches, I'm sure will be squawking about it. I mean, Don Sweeney came out and squawked about it. When do you ever see a GM come out and talk about,
Brian Burke? Maybe not officials, but
like going after the
isn't
league officials, demanding transparency from the league. Like that's pretty bold for Sweeney to do that. That never mid-series. You never hear from a GM mid-series.
Hey, is Jim Montgomery always been known for his antics on the bench? Because he's put on a masterclass this series.
When Jim Montgomery, so I don't know about you, that did kind of look like a dive to me, the little hook and dive thing. He legitimately like acted out. I was like, the dude fell. He was going, whoop, fell. It was just the way he acted it out was hilarious. I'm becoming I don't know if I could say I'm a Montgomery fan as a Toronto native. That's probably blasphemous to say, but he's an entertaining fella. I'll say that.
He's not even the most entertaining coach in the series, though. Paul Maurice with another classic answer last night.
Dude, just absolutely lost it on his squad on the bench. Similar to what he did in Toronto a couple of last year, which sparked the team all the way to a Stanley Cup final, basically. But yeah, they went out and scored the next shift, wasn't it? The very next shift.
Yeah.
It was during a TV timeout, chewed the whole team out. And then the next shift, like 10 seconds in, they end up scoring a goal. So it's effective, like, and you can't always lose your marbles. You gotta pick and choose when to make it happen, or else, it'll go in one ear and out the other. But he's very good at picking his spots, Paul Maurice. He's been around the league for a long time, right? So when he does lose it and the team responds, he looks so good. Like, it makes him look like a genius. And obviously they didn't win the game. But it did kind of turn things around for the Florida Panthers, and they did start to play a lot better in that game. Just couldn't beat Jeremy Swayman.
When asked about it after the game, Maurice's quote on the bench rant, "I don't know the exact words I used. I felt I wasn't mad at them. I understood what they were going through. I just thought they needed some profanity in their life. I brought some. I don't excel at a lot of things in life, but I'm good at that." You can go read the full quote online. But what a great motivator Paul Maurice is, and even better quote in the media. And now we've got a couple more storylines out of this series. I mean, what to you is going to be the deciding factor in Game 6 if Boston's going to do this and force a Game 7?
What's going to be the deciding factor in this game? Jeez. I mean, just continue to play their way, I guess. The problem is, like, Florida's just as chippy and Florida's just as agitating with Sam Bennett. So it's almost like that's a wash in terms of that. Like, for them, it really just comes down to Jeremy Swayman. Like, ultimately, Swayman just has to continue to be a beast. And it's funny how quick that goalie tandem went out the window, by the way. Omar played one game so far in these playoffs, and everyone was talking about how it was going to be a tandem the whole way because that's what they did all season. Omar played one game 2 against the Leafs. He lost. He hasn't sniffed the net ever since. I find that quite humorous.
If Boston comes back to win this series, it would be the first time in history they would win a series when they have trailed 3-1. As a franchise, they're 0-25.
Wow.
Fans of both teams.
Original 6 franchise too. That's crazy.
0-25 in series where they trail 3-1. And we're going to have to wait till Friday. I'm not sure if it's building availability, but the next game in that series will be on Friday. Okay.
I didn't think Matt Tkachuk did a whole lot yesterday, by the way.
No?
Random thought. I didn't think he was all that effective.
There's dash 2. That line, I mean, more nights than not, they're leading the charge, but Bennett, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, all dash 2.
Yeah, so for Florida, if we're flipping the script, like, what do they have to do to put Boston away? Like, those guys got to get going. I mean, Verhaeghe in closeout games is damn near automatic. So, like, let's get, a Gino from him at some point for Florida.
I'm cheering for Game 7. I'd like Game 7. May the best team win. With the Rangers, our Rangers, Mikey. FanDuel Futures. I'm the Rangers super fan here. John Chick might have to battle me over at Locked On Rangers. I might take the mic from him into round 3 if they can finally win the 4th one, because they ran up 3-0. 3-1's a hill to climb. 3-0, but back-to-back wins from Carolina has forced a Game 6 there. And we will discuss the top storylines next. You're listening to Locked On NHL. It's your team every day.
Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. For more from us, you can find Mike DiStefano over at Locked On Maple Leafs. I'm Ross Levitan from Locked On Ottawa Senators. We are discussing the New York Rangers falling back-to-back games against the Carolina Hurricanes. You have to credit the effort. Carolina down one in the third period, and they come out and go 3 quick goals to rally. 4 goals. Every goal, obviously, coming in the final frame. This is a never say die team that's taken on the personality of their head coach. We know Rod Brindamore's always been kind of known as that puck possession, shots on net, everything to the net. And for them to be able to pull off that comeback win the way they did, Evgeny Kuznetsov, after being a healthy scratch, gets what ends up being the game-winning goal. Like, that to me was just a masterclass third period from the Carolina Hurricanes.
Dude, it was like things looked like the Rangers were going to walk away with it. Igor was standing on his head, and it just, the Rangers, they have the ability to just shut things down, and they would have been perfectly fine with winning the game 1-0, 2-0. But yeah, the Jordan Staal comes to the rescue. Old man Jordan Staal. Somebody tweeted at me and they were like, has Jordan Staal been in the league for like 30 years? Because it feels that way. And it's true. Like, this guy's been around the block forever. And then, like the Hurricanes just kind of kept going at it. And next thing you knew, 4-1 and 5-1, I think it ended actually. And they keep their season alive. Look, the Hurricanes, man, like, we knew that they were a good team. And there was, like, this, I thought this was going to go 7 games. The fact that the Rangers came out and went up 3-0 did surprise me, completely surprised me. But at the end of the day, I still think that the Rangers will pull it out. But now, like, how much, like, has the pressure completely shifted into New York, Ross? Like, now it's 3-2 and they're going into Carolina for game 6. You lose that game, it's now game 7. Like,
Bradleywood is going to be rocking. The atmosphere in that building tomorrow night, Thursday, is going to be fantastic.
Could you imagine?
I can't wait for it.
Like, if they complete the reverse sweep?
They have the team to do it. They were the odds-on FanDuel favorite to win the Stanley Cup going into this round and the start of the playoffs. So don't count them out. But the Rangers, I mean, they had opportunities to win that game, and they just didn't get enough in 5-on-5. And I mean, their only goal is shorthanded 2-on-1 by Jacob Trouba. He keeps, like, maybe we laughed at it because the Rangers went up 3-0, but like, maybe Freddie Anderson reset wasn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, he goes 15 for 15 at even strength in this game. I don't know. I'm just very excited to watch game 6 on Thursday night. It's going to be awesome hockey.
It's going to be a good game. And I mean, it's been a chippy game. I'm like, the Rempire building, or the Rempire, whatever the hell his nickname is. He's been a bit of a non-factor here.
Yeah, we're in the second round of the playoffs. Like, it's not like you're going to bait who, like Brendan Lemieux. He's not playing either. Like, the guy, like, who on Carolina is he going to intimidate?
Well, I just think it's interesting because, midway through the season or towards the end, like, whenever Rempe really started to build some buzz, there was that conversation, that discourse, like, oh, is fighting coming back? Are we going back to the old school roots of the game? And here we are in the second round of the playoffs, and it's like, no, you can't afford to have that. You can't afford to have these guys on the ice, because one mistake and the puck's usually going to end up in the back of the net, and that could be detrimental. So yeah. I just think, I mean, it's usually totally different from a couple months
usually
ago.
He's taking somebody with him, but I mean, you don't want penalties in the playoffs, right? And he's already got four minor penalties through his 7 games. Did get that goal though. Might have been the first goal of the playoffs for the Rangers. It was early. That's awesome. Like, let's go. I'm sure the boys love it. And the boys also love, I don't know if you saw Blake Wheeler, who's trying to make it back from injury, who people thought it was a season ender. And the OT goal in Carolina for game 3.
Trocheck goal?
Yeah, the Trocheck goal, right on the side door. There's an angle by the goalie, because the goalie's not on the bench in Carolina. He's by the tunnel. And Blake Wheeler's standing next to him, and the celebration goes right there, and he's banging on the glass and trying to get back. But I mean, you need these stories of like motivation in the playoffs. We didn't mention the Boston one. Obviously, Brad Marchand's been out for these 2 games that they've been able to, keep the series alive now. And it came out after that his jersey, they left hanging in his stall the whole game. So at intermission, it's just sitting there, empty stall of their captain. So I think that's a nice, exactly. Just a reminder, like, hey, let's win tonight. Let's give our captain a chance to come back potentially if he's able to. And an emotional boost at that. We all remember Steven Stamkos, the emotional boost that he gave. I know that it's different circumstances.
Greatest shift in playoff history. Greatest shift in playoff history.
Unreal. And then he's done.
Speaking of captains, Jacob Trouba won the Mark Messier NHL Leadership Award today. That was announced.
Amazing.
Is that not just irony?
You know who votes on that award? You know who? I'm glad you don't know this.
No, I don't.
Can I just read it to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I had it up earlier today. I'm trying to pull this up quickly because it is one of the funniest things that I've ever read.
Like Jacob Trouba, the choo choo Trouba train, who goes off the tracks and sparks conversation about whether or not this guy should be suspended 2 or 3 times a year. Wins the Messier Leadership Award, and I just found it to be really funny.
Yeah, I know.
People.
It is funny, but
murdered a guy on Florida or on Carolina like earlier in the series.
Okay, you ready for this is how the Mark Messier prestigious leadership trophy is voted on.
Okay.
Mark Messier solicits suggestions from team and league personnel to compile a list of potential candidates for award. However, the selection of the 3 finalists and the ultimate winner is Messier's choice alone. Messier just gives it to his favorite player.
That's 100% what he does. Mess just picks his guy, and he's like, the captain of my New York Rangers, here's the leadership award. So no wonder that's what happened. Wow, that's funny. I didn't know that was how that was awarded.
More players should do that. It's like, hey, just pick your favorite player.
Just mosey up to Mess.
Yeah, that's it. Recent winners include Steven Stamkos last year, Anze Kopitar the year before that, Patrice Bergeron, Mark Giordano, Wayne Simmons, Derek Englund, Nick Foligno, Daniel Alfredson.
Englund would have been the first year in Vegas.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay.
Would you like to take a stab at who won the first ever Mark Messier Leadership Award? The year he decided that he just had the need to vote on his favorite player and give them a trophy.
What year? What year are we talking?
2007.
2007? Alfie?
No. Alfredson won the award in 2013, his final year with the Ottawa Senators.
Interesting. Who won the award here? Chris Chelios?
Chris Chelios. So it goes as far back as its inception that Mark Messier just gives it to who he likes the most in the league at that given day.
Sundin, Iggy, Crosby makes sense. Zadara,
that was the year he became the first European captain to win the cup.
Dustin Brown. Oh,
hilarious.
Nick Foligno ended up winning. Yeah, that's an interesting eclectic group of names here.
Yeah, and then Jacob Trouba.
Now Jacob Trouba.
That's awesome. Sick award though, right?
Sure. Yeah. Whatever.
Have you been watching any of the World Championships, Mikey?
So I was not watching the game yesterday. I was producing Overdrive. I was a little busy, I guess you could say. And I was just kind of tracking it on my phone. I have like tweet alerts by certain people, and I kept seeing, I knew it was 6-1 heading into the third period. Then I got a tweet update. It's now 6-2. Austria's cut the lead at 6-3, 6-4, 6-5. And that's when it got my attention. And I did have to flip it on one of the TVs in there and to watch the game. 6-6, Austria ties Canada in the third period. One's down, 6-1, now 6-6, goes into overtime. And Johnny Tirana ends up finishing it to avoid the serious collapse. I mean, it still was a big collapse, but at least they still won the game at the end with an OT winner. But yeah, having to go to overtime against Austria when you're up 6-1 in the third period, not ideal if you are Team Canada.
But
Not ideal at all.
ideal for entertainment value, and this tournament's been worth the price of admission. The atmosphere, like they should do it in that area of the world all the time, like Czechia, Slovakia, Germany.
They
like
usually do, don't they? It's usually
Switzerland.
somewhere over there, isn't it?
That's a bucket list event. I would love to get to one.
Yeah, well, I saw Mike Johnson, who's there calling the game, doing play-by-play or color, and he posted a video of Prague just absolutely going bananas after that game.
Prague's
Like
one of the
everybody,
coolest cities going.
yeah, I've heard really good things about it. It's definitely somewhere that I'm. It's going to be on my bucket list of places to go for sure. But yeah, that was a wild collapse, man. Like I'm still shocked. So apparently, too, Austria had never at any level, any international level, not U18s, U19s, World Juniors, World Championships, nothing. They've never scored more than 2 goals against Canada in their lifetime as an organized hockey organization. And they scored 5 goals in the third period to tie it at 6 to take it to overtime. Insane.
Well, Austria coming back from down 6-1 to tie at 6-6 was something that's never been seen before at the World Championships, the men's worlds, in the third period. So
And,
unreal entertainment value. USA versus Slovakia was a great game. And USA was down 4-1, tied it, and then lost.
But really quickly to go back to pull up that Austria team.
Well, no, we know like there's nobody like Marco Rossi is definitely like the whole team.
It's Marco Rossi.
There's some great players in the tournament, man, all over the place. It's great,
your boy,
dude. The top pair,
dude.
The top pair for Sweden is Hedman Karlsson. Like, that's nasty.
Not bad. Yeah, it's
pretty
not
sick.
Bad.
Sick tournament. Awesome. Yeah. The final thing I'll say about that is Gord Miller calling the game for TSN. He's talking about how, no team has ever collapsed that much as he is. Johnny Tavares comes in and rips one, and he just had to stop himself before the end of the sentence. It was very, very cool to see.
Yeah.
World Championships. That's awesome. I'm excited for like the medal round games. That'll be appointment TV, I think, for the semis and the gold medal game. I think, that's awesome. And if you were wondering how Connor Bedard's game would translate, pretty good. 5 goals leads the tournament. Well, tied with Oliver Kapanen. Habs fans are going to be on me for that. Oliver Kapanen's one of their prospects. He's just lighting it up for Finland.
Good for him. Interesting. You give a guy like that more space, he scores more goals.
Unreal.
Wouldn't have thunk it.
Pretty good hockey player, that Connor Bedard.
He's not bad. He's not
some
bad.
Pretty good. There's some pretty good players in this upcoming NHL draft as well. That's what we're taking care of over at Locked On Ottawa Senators right now. Lots of draft profiles going on there. Locked On Maple Leafs might imagine it's all coaching search right now, trying to find the right guy because you want to have your coach in place before the draft.
Yeah, well, 100%. And, like I was saying earlier, it sounds like they would prefer to have a coach by the end of the week. So this could come pretty rapid here. Also, lots of Easton Cowan talk as well. Talk about draft. Looks like they got themselves a steal last year at the end of the first round, 27th overall. He's got 18 points in his last 6 playoff games for the London Knights.
Yeah,
8 points, 6 playoff games.
They had a wild game the other night, 7-6. They won in overtime, and they were trailing 6-2 going into the third period. So no lead is safe in hockey. I think that's what we've learned about hockey right now. It's so fast. It's so demanding for the goalies to be moving around, and we're seeing goals more than ever, and it's not taking away from the physicality or all the other things that we love. Still great goaltending, awesome saves around the NHL, and even still then you get 2-1 games. And then you get games like Vancouver-Edmonton, where last night there's 2 goals in the final minute and a half, and it's just back and forth. Hockey is in such an amazing spot right now, and it's awesome to watch every single night. Like, Mike, you throw on a game. I can only imagine being a casual fan in the U.S. and turning the game on ESPN and not being intimately familiar with hockey and just being in awe of kind of like how fast the game is right now, but still physical and unique like hockey is.
Yeah, and speaking of like U.S. casual fans, Pat McAfee doing God's work, talking about hockey every day, and not only just talking
and with
about
a guest
yeah,
every day, because they want to
where-
learn. They're not just like what other, I think, U.S. shows that like want to say they talk hockey, they just do it themselves. But for him to like PK Subban, Mark Messier, Biz, all these guys, Kevin Week, yeah, exactly.
had Big
It's
Rig
awesome.
on.
So
Yeah,
awesome.
it's been great. It's been really great. Hockey's in a good spot, man. Hockey's in a good spot. So I'll be, and also like I don't know if you saw like this is a different conversation, I suppose, but like TNT looks like they're gonna be losing the basketball rights to their broadcast. Is that gonna are they gonna start propping up their hockey broadcast even more now? If that's the case, that's an interesting thing to talk about. But that's probably a summer show conversation, Ross.
Yes, it is. We've got lots more playoff coverage. Enjoy just the one game tonight, Avalanche and Stars. Avalanche trying to stay in live in that series. For more, go check out Locked On Stars and Locked On Avalanche. For today, we say goodbye. We pass it over to Power Rankings Thursday here on Locked On NHL. That's Mike DiStefano. I'm Ross Levitan. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.